that bill that had so many activists up in arms about? A bill that had all the potential to change the internet as we know it? Well, tomorrow, Congress will be reintroducing the Cyber Intelligence Sharing and Information Act, better known as CISPA. The controversial bill is word for word the same as its predecessor, which failed to be brought to a vote in the Senate last year. Despite protests and backlash against the implications this bill could have on privacy, tech giants like Google and Facebook support the legislation, arguing that it would help bolster their defense against cyber attacks. Now, if CISPA passes, it could potentially allow private companies to share your private information with intelligence agencies and the DHS. So to discuss what we can expect from tomorrow's vote on this controversial piece of legislation, I'm joined by RT Web producer Andrew Blake. What's going on, man?
Oh, you know, Abby, you know. We gotta stop there. Let's back up slightly, okay? Don't mean to correct you, but tomorrow it's gonna be a big day, but it's not gonna be huge. There's not gonna be a vote on this new CISPA tomorrow. What they are going to do, though, is they are going to reintroduce, like you said, essentially the same thing that was brought up last year and created this huge backlash among advocates who were saying, like, we'll get to in a minute, but this bill doesn't have many fans, yet it still managed to pass the House, and it's going to be reintroduced tomorrow. It's going to come before a vote, most likely, during the next couple of weeks, and once again, we're going to be back in the same battle, once again, fighting over this bill, but we can talk about that.
Yes, and let's talk about that. Thank you for the correction, Andrew. You know, it's very vague, of course, and that's, I think, a big danger with the bill, is it's so vague. The language is almost like the NDA, where really the broad implications of who can be deemed a cyber threat. I mean, what are the real implications for our privacy here?
Well, I mean, right now there aren't any. When this went through the House last year, a lot of civil liberty groups kind of stood up and said, hey, wait a second, before you put this crazy information sharing bill up for vote, let's make a couple amendments that are going to... Yeah, exactly. And, you know, they went, you know, it went through a few times. They tried to figure it out, and then it just stalled because the Senate couldn't agree on it. But, you know, here we go again, and the two authors of CISPA have reintroduced it without those amendments. So we are looking at something just as harsh as the first time around last year. There aren't any of those safeguards there yet. Will they be added? Probably, but it doesn't do anything to change the fact that this is still happening. We're still going to look at this bill tomorrow. We're going to hear about it. We're going to be told that it's necessary. And then this whole cycle is going to start all over again. But it's, at least, you know, we have a couple hours before they unleash it on us, and we can rest well tonight.
Well, that's what bothers me, Andrew, is it seems like we're given 48 hours to just galvanize this whole, you know, galvanize a resistance to this bill. And of course, I'm expecting for something like this to happen based on the fear-mongering that we're seeing toward Robert Mueller, Obama saying that we're supposed to encounter the next cyber Pearl Harbor.
Cyber Pearl Harbor, cyber 9/11, cyber anything. Yeah, it's all coming,
So it's all coming right on the edge of our seats here.
The United States is engaged in cyber wars with other countries, and we're being hit by hackers from Iran and allegedly hackers from China. These are real things, and we are also hacking these places. We are sending, you know, cyber. What do you send? Cyber guns? we are screwing around with Iran.
Well, this is what actually makes me skeptical, is that unlike a real terrorist attack, the government can just say, you know, oh, we were hit with a cyber attack, and now we're going to have to pass this legislation. I mean, it's so ambiguous, and really they can say anything and use it as a justification to push through really harsh cyber legislation, which we know that they want to do. But talk about who's resisting.
You know, you should. It's actually really good, because it's weird that there's a reasonable. Congress can have a reasonable suspicion about what you engage in online, and can use that in order to pass this crazy bill that's going to make sure that the government and private companies can share everything. But when it comes to people and what they're actually doing, and, you know, whether or not they're communicating with this person or another person, there is no, like, reasonable exception of privacy when it comes to how the government looks at them. They don't need any suspicion. They just go ahead and say, no, we're going to go ahead and look at you. But yeah, so the thing that what separates CISPA from bills like SOPA we saw last year, which is a huge backlash, was in CISPA, there's actually provisions that are written in there so that when these third-party businesses, when they share information from the government, they are let off the hook entirely. They don't have to worry about any crazy repercussions, any damages that happen from all this sharing of personal identification information. They don't have to worry about it. And all it's going to do for them is say, here, here's info on a cyber attack. You share with someone else that has a cyber attack. That's great. It's win-win for them. It just happens to be win-lose for the American public. The winning being, okay, here's a new step in preventing a massive cyber attack, which could hit the United States. The lose is you lose all of your privacy.
Right. I mean, these giant web giants like Google, Wikipedia, I mean, they're looking out for their profit margin. With SOPA, they could actually lose profits and be affected. I mean, with CISPA, they're like, oh, we don't care.
But, you know, last year when CISPA, when it came around and ran around for a few different months, a lot of people signed up for it. Mozilla, though, the makers of Firefox, they were one of the only main Silicon Valley entities to say, we're not going to do this. this is bogus. Think about it. But
Props
like I
to
said,
Mozilla,
yeah,
man.
but you know, it's all going to start again tomorrow. We're going to hear
Right.
people complain, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter all that much because President Obama is expected either tonight or tomorrow to unleash a new cybersecurity executive order, which is going to, well, we'll find out when it comes out. But it's
Well, what is this? You have a bit of a minute left to talk about this executive order threat.
Okay, so Obama's been saying ever since CISPA failed, was
Right.
it like 6-7 months ago, the White House has been working on a cybersecurity executive order. They've drafted a whole bunch of different revisions. It's made its way around the web. We've all seen it, at least different editions of it. And it's just going to put the necessary safeguards in order to start building this sort of blueprint for this massive cybersecurity infrastructure that will protect the cybersecurity infrastructure of the United States government and all of its critical businesses. So what the White House wants to do is they want to pick up where Congress couldn't last year with CISPA and just kind of give them like a boost up. Like, hey, here's a step. Go ahead, start working towards it. So that's supposed to come out tonight or tomorrow. But in protest, we've already seen members of Anonymous are planning to wage an attack tonight on the Obama administration. Specifically because the White House is okay with putting together these executive orders, which come from no outside debate, and you know Congress is going to try CISPA on us again after months and months of debate.
Very interesting to see.
We're not learning anything. So
right, we'll definitely be interested to see what happens tomorrow. Thanks for keeping us updated,
Sure.
Andrew Blake, web producer.
My pleasure.
Margarita.